Hello, welcome to Cheapskate Tuesday. This is the feature where I try and buy stuff for as little money as possible and then see if it's going to be part of my workflow, or will it just sit in the library or even end up in the trash because I never use it again. Let's just take a look at the plugins that I got for free, or I spent £5 on something else and got these as freebies with it. So first of all, I'll introduce you to the plugins. Cyclone, and this is a compressor, but you can see it's clearly a compressor that's emulating, I guess, valve compression. Reverb plugin called Algoverb. I presume that means an algorithmic reverb, but where it says imaging, filter, effects, all of this kind of stuff, these are grayed out because you then have to pay to unlock these parts of it. This is the one that I'm excited about. It's been around for a long time. I've never owned it or used it, and I want to see if this can generate some creative possibilities. So this really is kind of like, I guess you could say, intelligent distortion, if that is such a thing. Finally, there's two kind of EQ plugins that I got for free. And you can see here you've got three bands. It says warmth, boxiness, and clicks, but they're really just bands, which you can switch on and switch off. And they have set frequencies. And what you can do is boost those frequencies, or in the middle where you got boxiness is attenuate, because of course, to get rid of boxiness, you don't boost it, you cut it. And then you also have this plugin here, which is called Perculate, which is like an EQ for percussion. But of course, it's not really. You could use it on anything. And you see it's defined by the snare, the hi-hat, and I guess this is a toy xylophone. In fact, I've got a toy xylophone. Seriously, this came in a cracker. In the previous video, I used Analog Lab V by Arturia using those 500 presets, not all of them, but some of them. And what I've done with this is I've taken that piece of music, I've taken the tempo down. I wanted to see if those plugins would inspire me to kind of come up with something new, generate new sounds, or shape the sounds in different ways with those plugins. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to play the whole thing, and then I'm going to go through those plugins and how I use them. Completely unconventional here, and really push the boat out and use Kickbox on a kick drum. So the first thing that you can see here is for this kick drum, what I'm going to do is I'm going to A/B this so you can hear the before and after. It is a little bit louder because I've used the compressor. But what I have noticed about this is it's actually a really nice EQ. It does smear the sound a little bit, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, so it's just drum synth, and then here it is with. So you can really hear the click part coming out, which is just accentuating the upper frequencies, and there is a roundness to the bottom end, and I do think that roundness has more to do with the boxiness band being reduced by 12 dBs. Now, 12 dBs is quite a lot, but what I have found with this plugin is it's not, it's quite subtle with those boosts, if that makes sense. So the next thing I did was use Perculate and Oracle on another drum track. And the reason why I did this is because I wanted to see if the upper frequencies could be pulled out quite nicely. I did want to accentuate the kind of snare sound that was used in this. So here we go. Let's just A/B this. and then with everything. One thing that I have noticed about this reverb is it doesn't get in the way of the mix. Some reverbs, you can add quite a lot of reverb and then it completely smears the whole mix. With this, for a free reverb, this is not actually bad. And if I play it with the rest of the track, you'll notice that the reverb doesn't get in the way of the mix. Okay, so the next thing that I did was I actually wanted to bring that little skippy drum thing out even more. I bounced in place the part and then I cut the snare out and put it on a separate track and then turned it up and then added another reverb. This is the plugin that I was most interested in. This is a distortion plugin, but it's got some parameters that offers more creative sound design possibilities. So what you've got in the middle is a drive dial. You only get one type of distortion as far as I'm aware. And that distortion is not the nicest sounding distortion in the world. But if used carefully, you can come up with some really interesting sounds. The ring around the side allows you to select whether you want to focus on the mid or the side signal. When it's in the center, you've basically just got a normal stereo signal. The thing that I really like is this bit here, the LFO section, because you can come up with some really interesting sound design stuff, adding a rhythmical aspect to the distortion. And that's really nice. I'm going to show you what I mean by that in a minute. Up here at the top, you've got the yellow section. Anything within the yellow section is going to be processed. Anything outside of the yellow section is not going to be processed. The way I use this is by actually using the LFO section to really shape the drum loop over time. One thing that's really nice about this is you can invert those waveforms. So here you see you've got the square wave. If I click the button at the bottom, then it inverts. So let's have a listen to this in context with the music. I want to show you the pad where I've used Halcyon. I've got the sawtooth again, but this time I've inverted it. So it really just adds a bit more drama to the sound. One other area that I have used this on is my Blade Runner style synth lead. By changing the different dials, the attack, the release, you can really affect the sound in different ways. So that really changes the sound there in a positive way. Again, it gives you sonic shaping possibilities. It's completely free and it's something that I think I will use in the future. Okay, so the plugin that I've not looked at yet at all is this one here called Cyclone. This is really not a review, it's just me looking at this as we go, but there are a couple of things I think are important to point out. The first one that's good about this is you get RMS and peak. The second thing is that you can actually put this in stereo or MS mode. Another really nice feature is that you can solo the mid and the side, and I think you can also solo the left and the right, which is really nice. The saturate, I'm guessing, is the kind of overdriving of the valve. I know what that sounds like with my valve compressor, so I'm interested to see if it sounds anything like that. Whenever I start playing around with a compressor or a plugin, I like to take it to the extreme to see how much is it going to affect the sound and then back off. I can't hear much of a difference on the saturate. The way I saturate my analog compressor, I drive the input, and I drive the input until the signal starts to break up and distort, and then I back off, and that's where you get that nice raw, warm, round analog distortion. With this, it doesn't really seem to be doing that, unless I'm doing something wrong. That sounds pretty cool. I can't hear much difference again with saturate. Now that sounds quite nice without the distortion, but if I put it on parallel at 50%, okay, so as general compression goes, it's quite squishy. So if you were wanting to compress a signal and squash it down quite hard, or get that squidginess out of a compressor, this could do that quite nicely. I don't hear much in the way of saturation, but let's actually go back to the distorted sound, because that was the thing that I really liked. This is where we could actually get some really interesting sounds. Instead of using stereo, I'm now going to go over to the MS mode. I'm going to unlink them. The great thing about mid and side is that you, particularly with drums, is you could either improve or boost the center or boost the sides, so you can get a balance or rebalance your drums between there, and that gives you creative possibilities. So if I bring up the sides, but let's see what it sounds like bringing the mid up. If you have everything at 0, you get that harder distorted sound. If you just release it a bit, you can actually get a bit more punch out, but still preserve the distortion. Okay, so let's see what this sounds like with all of the various plugins. So there you go. That's Cheapskate Tuesday. And I think for 5 free plugins, particularly the reverb and the Cyclone compressor, for more extreme compression sounds, and the mid and side, I think you can get some really, really interesting and creative tone shaping possibilities coming out of that. The one that I really like, I think, is Halcyon. For me, as a television composer or media composer, I'm often doing stuff where I'm having rhythmical patterns. Being able to have some kind of distorted rhythm rather than a tremolo or a panning thing going on is a really nice option. The EQs, well, they're okay. I'm not sure if I will use them that much in the future, but they are quite nice in terms of being able to just quickly open them, click a few times, and then away you go. Considering they were free with something else that I'd bought for £5, as cheapskates go, that's not a bad result. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate you being here. If you like this video, please do like and subscribe. And in the next video, I'm going to look at the thing that I actually bought, and I can't even remember what that is because I've had so much fun with this stuff. Anyway, see you soon. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate the support.